We've seen some strength, relatively speaking, filtered through to the local unit this morning, but it's more a case of a weaker dollar than risk actually back on the table, right?
I think so, Alishia. Good morning. We've seen this kind of debt pendulum, if you like, swinging between the States and the European region. And yesterday, of course, we had America hitting the headlines for all the wrong reasons with that potential downgrade from Moody's. So, both of those countries, Europe and the States, are in a lot of problems in terms of their debt situation. And as a result, investors are tending to flurry for the safe haven assets, which are no longer the dollar, but more like the Japanese yen and the gold.
Yeah, exactly, and it's that gold price as
really
well that's been pretty supportive, hitting record highs. It's that commodity prices that has offered quite a bit of support to the local unit.
Absolutely. So I think it's commodity prices and a weak dollar environment that have pushed the rand stronger. Once again, we've had some sort of disappointing developments on the local front in terms of strike activity. That's intensifying. And also we had some fairly bearish remarks from our finance minister yesterday about the rand. And despite that, the rand powered ahead. And as we say, it's a function of the firmer commodity prices and the weaker dollar.
Where we were sitting at around about 682 a little earlier, we've seen some weakness filter through. We're sitting at 684 at this stage. And with that, we've got quite a few out there saying the rand is still vulnerable, where we saw how prone the unit could be to, hefty declines over the last couple of days. On a long-term valuation basis, in your books, is the rand expensive?
I think on a long-term basis, it is expensive still. If I look at my purchasing power parity models, it's telling me the rand should be fairly valued somewhere around the 770 mark against the US dollar. That's the long-term view, and of course we will probably migrate to that over time. In the short term, though, investors are really scurrying for some kind of return on their money and some kind of safety. There's a lot of uncertainty in the so-called developed markets. And it's the developing and the emerging markets that are really offering some kind of safety net for these investors that are desperate, as I say, to earn yield on their cash. So, we could see the rand remaining quite strong and in excess of its fair value for the foreseeable future, until we start seeing the likes of the States or Europe starting to recover on a more sustained basis, which doesn't look likely in the short term. I think the rand could remain a little bit firmer for longer.
Having said that, there is some kind of distinction that needs to be made here, because while there's an element of overvaluation when you're comparing the rand to the likes of the euro to the dollar as well, relative to emerging market currencies, how exactly are we performing?
Well, precisely. We haven't actually done that well against those currencies this year. In fact, against the dollar, we've seen, should I say, for the year to date, the rand has been the worst performing currency, which just shows you that it has really been, as you mentioned right up front, a weak dollar story rather than a strong rand story. And I think there's a lot of fundamentals back home that aren't looking as favourable going forward. We've seen some nice improvements in things like the balance of payments in recent years, but that's showing signs of deterioration. We expect inflation to drift higher. All of these fundamental factors is probably the reason why the rand is actually underperforming, as you say, some of its emerging market and commodity-based currency peers.